Hello and welcome to Fallon Moran Radio, the online business blueprint. Yes, we have gone through yet another rebrand. Different story for a different day. Today we're going to be breaking down buyer behavior and how it's important for what you're doing in your digital business. So I had this realization recently that there are these personal brands online who seem to have it all together, and it's not rocket science. It comes down to a few really effective things that we're going to be talking about in this episode. So, what I did was I actually went to a few of these different personal brands pages and I kind of scrolled around. I played. I was like, what is it that I do when I'm interested in purchasing somebody's product? And I broke down the steps that I took to then get to the point of making a purchase. And it's really important that we do that for ourselves, because when we look at our own buying behavior, then it can help inform us as to what our client's buying behavior is going to be. So in this particular example, in this circumstance, what I did was I really retraced my steps all the way back to getting into this person's world, which I have gotten into this one person, like she's a personal brand online. I've gotten to her world pretty recently. I was in her world a little ways in the past, like probably 2 years ago now, back in 2023. And while her content was really effective at getting my attention back then, there was just not an energetic match between us for me to be at the point that I am now, where I got to actually purchase something of hers. And so I really looked at what it was that I did, and I started seeing her TikTok videos, and I started really watching her TikTok videos, and I would save a lot of her TikTok videos, and I would go back to a lot of those saved TikTok videos. And I eventually started to check out her podcast, and I started listening more to her podcast episodes. And it then led me to her master classes. And she had a very recent master class in September where she broke down a few things. And one of the most important things that she said was that she only has a specific number of CTAs. And every CTA correlates to a funnel. And every funnel has a couple of options. So, for example, let's just say I post a TikTok and my call to action in that TikTok is to head over to my podcast to hear more about this topic. Then what I'm doing is I'm pointing somebody from TikTok to my podcast. And then when they hear my podcast, they can get more information on that particular topic. Like, let's just say it's my 4R framework, right? If I'm literally just saying, oh yeah, the first R is root, and the second R is rewire, and the third R is regulate, and the fourth R is receive in the TikTok, that gives zero context to anything. But when I show up on my podcast and I talk about my 4R framework, and I talk about, oh, the first R, root, is for rooting into your attention and to root into the actual purpose of what it is that you're looking to do. What I want you to do when you start to root is blah, 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 right? Then what I'm doing is I'm providing more context. I'm providing more information. I'm providing more of a framework, more education, and people want more. So essentially, when I point them to my podcast and I give them more, then what happens is they naturally want more. This is the law of reciprocity. And so when they want more, then what happens is eventually there will be a point where they, instead of taking all of this information, will give something. Maybe it's their email address. Maybe it's their phone number for text message marketing. Maybe it's an actual couple of dollars for my low ticket product, right? But the point that I'm having with this is you start with something small, something very vague, and then you go a little deeper. You point to someplace that you can go a little deeper. And then when you go a little deeper, then you point someplace that you can go a little deeper, right? Maybe now it comes at a little bit of an investment, a little bit of a cost. Instead of being free for 20 minutes of your time or an hour of your time, now we're looking at something that's $27, $47, and it's a subscription, right? Or it's a one-time payment and you get an ebook, okay? And then, okay, now that ebook leads to potentially, let's just say this $27 ebook now leads to, there's an order bump after you purchase that ebook for another guide. Or now, because you've bought the ebook, you're part of a warm leads funnel because you've purchased something already. So now when I go to email market, I know, hey, this person's warm and they've already purchased something. They're probably going to be more likely to purchase something at a higher price point in time. Okay. And so you just continue to bring them down the funnel. So it's a very interesting concept because you wouldn't have thought that it has to be so simple. Now, the reason why I think that this is highly important and I bring awareness to this in my buyer behavior episode is because as soon as I watched that masterclass, I started actually doing the work for myself. I started to actually lay out a flow chart of things as far as what my offers are, what I might want my freebies to be, and then what I might want my actual, podcast episode or like where I want to point people after a TikTok or an Instagram reel, right? And it really got my gears going. I was like, wow, this is the first time that I've actually done something from anyone, free or paid, in a very long time. And so a lot of that comes down to a decision that I had made maybe a couple weeks earlier where I was not going to invest in anyone anymore. I was like, that's it. I'm done. I'm not investing in anything anymore. It's kind of like when you go out and you have a really bad night drinking and you're like, that's it. I'm done. I'm never going to drink alcohol ever again. And then, a couple days pass and you're like, oh yeah, I'll have a glass of wine. And one glass leads to two and two glass leads to three. And you get the idea. The point is, when I did something, I was like, okay, this is different. And then I went back to her content. I actually went back to her TikToks and back to her podcast episodes because she doesn't gatekeep. It's all there. All of it's there for you to use to your advantage. And so I thought it was like, okay, this is actually all here. Like this is all right here. So I did that exercise with the call to actions. And then I did another exercise with the customer journey. And I did another exercise with my freebies. And I was like, okay, I've done quite a lot. Maybe I do want to check out her low ticket membership. And so I did. I spent the little bit of money that it was, the $27, to check out her low ticket membership. And yeah, I have done a couple of things in that membership. And there are also things because it's set on a drip basis that I haven't gotten to yet. And the drip basis is intentional because then now what you're doing is you're extending the point that people stay in the community so you get a higher return on your leads. And now you're spending more time with her. You're getting more nurturement from her. You're getting more education. You're getting more opportunity. You're getting more extras if you wanted to opt into some of those extras, right? So it's a really good exercise to go through your purchasing behavior because for me, when I went through this exercise, I saw that a lot of it came down to not just value in terms of the educational portion or component of what it was that I was doing. A lot of it also came down to how simply she explained things so that I could then take the information and implement it on my own. A lot of times there are very many mentors, teachers, guides, coaches, whoever online, and they don't break down these concepts very easily. They don't give you a really good place to start, and things seem like really scattered and overwhelming. And of course, you're going to have shiny object syndrome because you have no idea, no clue where to start. You have no clue what the foundation is. When I started listening to her episodes and I started actually doing the work myself, I was like, okay, this is definitely worth the purchase. And so I did it. And it's different from before. If I analyze my purchasing behavior prior to this past month, prior to the decision when I was like, that's it, no more investing, no more masterminds, no more programs, no more courses. If I had, in, the whole scope of things, analyze my buyer behavior over the past 4 or 5 years prior to this, a lot of it went down to the emotional pain point of, here's how you can make more money. And it's not about making more money, because what I'm really after, and what you more than likely are also after, is the feeling. What feeling is more money going to bring to you? What feeling are you looking for that you don't currently have, that you want to experience continuously? And a lot of marketers play into that feeling, not in an abundance mind frame, not in an abundance place, however, from a place of scarcity. When they're marketing about their 50K months or their 100K months, they're doing it because they want you to feel the pain of not having a 50K month. And that's the complete opposite of what we want to go for here. We want for people to be in complete alignment with the fact that they've made that type of month and that type of money in that type of month. And we also want to be in complete alignment, being crystal clear about what it was that we did to get there. Not just like flaunting it for the sake of flaunting it, because the FTC will come get you. Okay. That is a thing. It is all about really being open, honest, and transparent. So then that way people can clearly understand what it is that they have to do from point A to point Z. So yes, are emotions important? Yes, because if she didn't touch some emotion within me, then I might not have saved or shared or liked or commented on any of her posts. However, it's also very important to note that there's a difference between the emotional frequency of harmony and then the emotional frequency of scarcity. And when you go to market message in your content, in your TikToks, in your podcasts, in anything, we want to put a message out there that is going to harmonize with someone else's frequency so that they get called in and attracted to our business, our content, our podcast, our community, our offers, etc. So I want you to think about this, and I want you to go through the exercise of analyzing your own buyer journey. What is the breakdown? What is your point A to point Z? Like, when you first get introduced to someone in their world, what do you do after that? Do you binge their content like I do? Do you save their content? Do you go back to their content? Do you find them on all of the platforms? Like, what behaviors do you take? Walk yourself through, retrace your steps before you get to the purchase. I mean, of course, you know that you've made the purchase because you've already made the purchase, right? It's just a really good exercise for you to go through, and then it'll help inform you also of what kind of content to put out there, of what kind of things as far as freebies to put out there, what kind of funnels to use, what kind of marketing to invest in. Maybe you might want to focus a little bit more on organic, and if that's the case, then emails are probably going to be really important for you. Point being, when you go through your buyer breakdown for yourself, it will inform you for your own business so much more, because we're talking about mirrors in business, because business is literally like the biggest fucking mirror in the world, okay? Go through the exercise. If there is anything that I can encourage you to do, it is that. I hope you enjoyed this quick episode. I hope that you go through your own buyer journey and you let me know in a DM, hey, this is what I found out, because I would love to see your revelations. If you have not yet left a review and a rating for the podcast, it would really help if you did. It helps rank the podcast to get it out to more new audience members. I want to thank you for tuning in, and we'll talk soon.